You won't believe the actors Jack Nicholson swears by, and no, it's not just about star power. It's something deeper. Ever wonder what it really takes to earn the respect of a legend? The kind of respect that doesn't show up in red carpet interviews or acceptance speeches, but lingers behind the scenes, quiet, heavy, unshakable? Let's just say, not many make that cut. But 6 actors did. 6 performers Jack doesn't just admire, he remembers. Not because they flattered him or followed him, but because they met him head-on, scene for scene, moment for moment. You're about to find out who they are, and why they'll always live in Nicholson's shadow. Let's start with a near miss you probably never knew. The Godfather almost had Jack in the lead role. Yeah, he was offered Michael Corleone. But he passed. What? Because he knew in his bones it didn't belong to him. It belonged to Marlon Brando and Al Pacino. That's what makes Jack different. He doesn't take roles just because they're shiny. He takes the ones that are his. And when he talks about the actors who made a mark on him, it means something. So let's talk about those 6. Robert De Niro. The iceberg under the surface. Jack's never needed to work alongside him for more than a minute to know. De Niro is the real deal. That quiet, internal storm brewing behind the eyes? That's not performance. That's presence. Jack called him the kind of actor who says more by saying nothing. Think about that. In a business built on lines and monologues, here's a guy who could do more with a glance than some do with a 5-page speech. There's this unspoken thing between Jack and De Niro, like 2 tigers sizing each other up across the jungle. Not adversarial, just mutual understanding. Respect. Jack once watched De Niro on set and said it felt like gravity had shifted. Everyone just got quieter. And the thing is, Jack gets that. Because that's how he operates too. You don't push a moment. You let the moment come to you. They were almost paired up in The Departed. De Niro turned down the role that Nicholson ended up making infamous, Frank Costello. But make no mistake, De Niro's shadow was in every frame. Jack stepped in and channeled that same dangerous stillness De Niro made legendary. It was his tribute. Next, Al Pacino, pure fire. If De Niro is pressure building, Pacino is the explosion. Jack has always admired that about him. There's nothing safe about Al Pacino. He walks into scenes like they're battlefields. That energy? It's nuclear. In Dog Day Afternoon you don't watch Pacino, you feel him. That raw, desperate humanity pouring out of him like lava. Jack once said Al had a face that shows every thought before it's said. Like lightning under skin. That's poetry. And that's how Jack sees him. Not as a polished performer, but a force of nature that doesn't care about clean edges. They never played brothers, but man, they could have. In spirit, in ambition, in danger, they were cut from the same cloth. Nicholson respected how Pacino never played it safe. Even when the scene called for stillness, there was tension, electricity. You could almost hear his heartbeat through the screen. Jack doesn't like pretty acting. He likes acting that bleeds. That's what he saw in Al: wounds, chaos, truth. Now let's slow it down a little. Dustin Hoffman. Hoffman didn't break the mold. He never fitted to begin with. He wasn't tall, he wasn't suave, he wasn't the obvious leading man. But the second he spoke, you couldn't look away. Jack saw that and knew, this guy's gonna change everything. They were both outsiders when they broke in. Hoffman in The Graduate, Jack an Easy Rider. Neither of them came in through the front door, they busted a hole in the wall. Hoffman's magic is in the discomfort. He makes being uncomfortable watchable. Jack said he acts like he can't afford to lie, and that says it all. Hoffman's roles never feel acted. They feel lived in. From Kramer versus Kramer to Tootsie, he peels back layers. Not to impress you, but because he has to. Nicholson was blown away by that. And while they never acted together, there's something almost haunting about the way Jack talks about Dustin. Like he knows they came from the same fight, the same hunger. Next, Paul Newman. Cooler than cool. The guy everyone wanted to be, and not just on screen. Newman had a presence that didn't shout. It whispered. Jack once said watching The Hustler made him question everything he was doing. Newman barely moved, barely raised his voice, and yet the whole screen bent around him. He was elegance without effort. Restraint without boredom. Jack saw him as the guy who never had to try hard to make an impact. He just walked in, did the work, and left the room changed. But more than that, Jack admired Paul the man. No scandals, no ego. He raced cars, gave away his earnings, stayed married for decades. In a town where everyone's selling a version of themselves, Newman didn't sell anything. He was. Now let's talk about the man who rewrote the book, Marlon Brando. This wasn't just a favorite. This was the godfather of it all. No pun intended. Brando didn't play roles. He became them. Jack used to say that Brando made every actor rethink everything they thought they knew. He was beautiful, dangerous, fragile, wild, all in one breath. They lived next to each other on Mulholland Drive. Neighbors, sometimes friends, sometimes feuding, but always locked in mutual awe. When they finally worked together on the Missouri Breaks, Jack knew it'd be chaotic. Brando changed lines, walked off set, disappeared. But Jack didn't fight it, he leaned into it. Because with Brando, chaos was the method. Nicholson admired how Brando held power without ever reaching for it. A single mutter could shift the whole scene. Brando didn't care if you liked him. He only cared if what he did was real. And that, to Jack, is sacred. And finally, Gene Hackman. The quiet legend. The working man. The guy who never made it about himself and still owned every frame he was in. Jack called him a blue-collar genius. That's the kind of compliment that tells you everything. Hackman didn't charm the press. He didn't chase Hollywood. He just showed up and acted like his life depended on it. Watch The French Connection or Hoosiers and you'll see a man who never phones it in. Jack admired that endlessly. They didn't act together. But if you asked Jack who he'd trust with any role, it was Hackman. No frills. No vanity. Just the work. Just the truth. So what do these six have in common? They weren't looking to be loved. They weren't trying to win the scene. They were there for the truth. Nicholson never forgot that. He never forgot them. Each one gave him something to believe in. In their silence he saw strength. In their fire he saw honesty. In their madness he found something pure. These weren't just co-stars. These were the actors who held their own with one of the greatest to ever do it. So now it's your turn. Who's your pick? Is it De Niro, all quiet and deadly? Pacino, burning wild? Brando, the original disruptor? Or maybe you're drawn to the silent cool of Newman or the raw nerves of Hoffman? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk greatness. And if this little trip through Hollywood's finest hit you in the heart, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, and keep coming back. Because this is just the beginning. We've got more stories, more legends, and more truth coming your way.